Hi, and thanks for joining us for our Comeet owner training. Today we're going to cover the following topics: how to add teammates, company level permissions, position level permissions, and two additional settings: automation and system permissions. When going into Comeet, in order to add new teammates, you'll click on your company logo in the top right-hand corner and choose Teammates. Here you can see a list of all of the teammates in your company with the different permissions that they have. When clicking on the drop-down, you'll be able to see the list of optional permissions you have at a company level. When a new teammate is added, you'll see that they automatically receive the permission of teammate. A teammate can only access individual positions where they have a specific role. If you would like to give them additional permissions, such as management or IT manager if needed, you'll have those options here. For your recruiting team, you'll be able to give access as a recruiter. Recruiters can see all non-discrete positions and have full access to the individual positions in which they have a role. In any case, our recommendation is to click here, see complete list of permissions, and this will open up an article in our Help Center that has a very detailed table of the different actions in the system and the different permissions on a company level. If a V is marked, that means this action can be done by this teammate and this permission. And if there's a little cogwheel, that means that this can be configured separately. When you're ready to add teammates and you've reviewed all of the permissions, click Add Teammate, enter their work email address, and click Invite. If for some reason they haven't received the invitation, you can click Resend and they will receive the invitation again, just like you received when you logged on to Comeet for the first time. Next, we'll talk about position level permissions. In the hiring team icon, in a specific position, you'll have a list of all of the different teammates that have a role in this position. When you're setting up the workflow, the different steps that a candidate needs to pass through in order to be hired for this position, you will assign these steps to different teammates. These teammates will automatically receive the permission of interviewer. An interviewer will have the option to interview a candidate and submit their evaluation, but they will not be able to see previous evaluations that have been written about this candidate before their specific interview. If you would like them to access previous interviews, you'll scroll down and also give them the viewer permission. Let's take a look at some other position level permissions. There will be one recruiter that will have the auto tasks, send notification, and proceed with candidate. These are two tasks that we assign to the recruiter, which we'll talk about in detail later on. We also have additional permissions for the recruiting staff, such as coordinator and assistant for scheduling interviews. If you're adding anyone to the hiring team that is not a recruiter, they might be a hiring manager, or they can have additional permissions such as manager, interviewer, or viewer. Each position has one hiring manager, but can have several recruiters, coordinators, or assistants. If you would like to add a teammate to the position and they don't have a current role in the workflow, you can choose them from the drop-down over here and select which permission you would like to give them and click Add. Just like we saw before, we also have here an article explaining about the full list of permissions on a position level. Review this list to make sure you're giving the right permissions to your hiring team. So just to sum it up, we have our company level permissions, starting off with teammate. A teammate can then be either a hiring manager, an interviewer, or more options within the positions. Now we're going to talk about two additional settings. We'll click our company name at the top right-hand corner and select settings. The first menu we're going to talk about is automation. Automation is where you can configure different processes that will run automatically within Comeet. The first one is called Send Notification. Send Notification is a step that is created within the workflow once an email is assigned to a specific teammate for reviewing prior to sending. This is usually relevant in the case of rejection emails. Here you're able to select who will be in charge of these send notifications. It could be the recruiters who will be in charge of all the communication with candidates, and they will be responsible for sending these emails. The second option here is proceed with the candidate. This is another step that is entered into the workflow once an interviewer decides that they are not sure or they don't want to hire the candidate. In this case, the final decision regarding this candidate will be directed to the recruiting team so they can decide what will happen with the candidate moving forward. Maybe you would like to interview him again or give them another opportunity. These are the two tasks that we saw before that will be assigned to the recruiter of the specific position. Next, we have two more settings, duplicates and multiple positions. They are separate, but also connected. Resolve duplicate applications allows the system to automatically resolve duplicate in your system. Sometimes candidates apply twice, either for the same position or different position. Maybe they've sent their CV through an employee and also applied via LinkedIn or a different job board. Maybe they've applied for two different positions via your career website. In this case, you have the option that if the same candidate is submitted for the same position or a different position within a number of days, you can change it to 30, you can change it to 60, or whatever other number you would like. The system will identify that this is the same candidate based on unique identification details such as their email, their phone number, their LinkedIn URL, and parts of their CV. In this case, the system will be able to resolve a duplicate, and you will only have one candidate card with the first position they applied to and the first source they came in through. You also have the option to disable automatic handling of duplicates, which will allow you to do this manually. Last but not least, we have the option to consider a candidate for multiple positions. If you have the option at your company for a candidate to go through the process of hiring for two separate positions at the same time, meaning they will meet with the hiring managers of each team, do the relevant assignments and interviews, and at the end of both processes, you will decide for which position you want to hire the candidate. You'll have the option here to select multiple positions. If this isn't relevant for your company, you can select one, and when you're done, click Save. Next, we're going to talk about permissions. Permissions can be found under System, all the way at the bottom above Support. Permissions is another menu in the system that allows us to configure specific permissions on a company level and on a position level, in addition to the permissions that we saw before. It's set up by questions, and you have the different options to select. On a company level, you have the options to define who can add new positions, who can edit sources, who can edit company email templates, and more. Review all of the questions and decide who will have these permissions. As a default, an owner and admin will be able to take action in all of these topics within the system. Scrolling down, you'll have your position level permissions. Here, you'll decide who else from the hiring team can make these decisions and take actions. Who can edit opening dates retroactively, who can send messages to sources, who can edit position workflows, and more. At the bottom, you'll see a few more relevant questions that are important to take notice. The first is who can see application emails. In some cases, application emails will include confidential information such as salary expectations. If this is information you do not wish to share with your team, you will set it up accordingly and remove the relevant teammates other than the recruiter of the position. You also have the permission who can complete steps on behalf of others. This will allow other teammates in the hiring team to complete steps on behalf of other people in the team, for example, screening a CV or interviewing them instead. You might want to consider who should have this permission. When you're done, click Save. Thank you for joining us.